Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeVries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Dennis Tzeng.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. It's Friday. I feel like everyone here is has a little bit of more energy today. I don't know why.
Sure.
Yeah. Thanks, Rocha, for bringing it back down.
I gotta chill it out.
Okay.
It was so exciting.
Calm down over there, Rocha. Also here is Ken Napzok.
I don't have any energy today. I didn't sleep. I was up all night building IKEA furniture. My hands, I can't. Allen wrenches are the death of humanity.
Also here is John Rocha.
What's going on over there in Sweden? That's for sure. Like, well, how do you just do regular screws like everybody else? Why you gotta be so different? I'm wearing a pink shirt. Bring it. Real men wear pink. Bring it. Real men wear pink.
He wasn't done, you guys. He wasn't done.
Let's do it.
Also here is David Griffin.
I realize that my farmer's tan is coming in kind of hot right now, so I apologize for that if I'm blinding anybody on the other side.
Where's your Hawaiian shirts?
Well, this is like my Marvel shirt. You know,
That's
it's my
nice.
Marvel. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I got to change things up every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to show off the guns today.
Yeah.
Rocha's not really impressed with your guns. All right, what do we got first?
Let's do it.
Newly confirmed Shazam director David F. Sandberg made a name for himself with the well-received horror film Lights Out and the upcoming Annabelle creation. But he'll be doing the superhero shift into the DCEU with Shazam. The adaptation is an unusual property with his alter ego, a kid named Billy Batson, who shouts Shazam and transforms into a costumed adult who basically has the powers of Superman, but with the mind of a child. Speaking to the Toronto Sun, Sandberg said that he is well aware that the premise is more in line with comics and not horror like he's used to. The big attraction for me with that character is the fact that every kid dreams of being Superman, right? I mean, I certainly did. And Billy Batson is a kid that gets that chance. He gets to become the superhero. So it'll be big with superpowers in a way. In terms of what people can expect, I think this one will be of the more fun or lighthearted movies so far in the DC universe. It certainly will be a departure. Dennis, what do you think about Sandberg's comments about Shazam?
It makes sense to me. I mean, with the story of Billy Batson and how his origin, how he transforms into Shazam, and it stands for all these different Greek gods, and so. But it will be interesting to see his take on it because he's known for horror with Lights Out and Annabelle creation, and see what he does with a superhero movie, and also with DC, are they making that full shift over? I mean, with what we saw, how well Wonder Woman did. The trailers we've seen from Justice League, which seem to have a much lighter tone than the previous Zack Snyder versions of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Is this a fundamental shift? Are DC fans who, I'm not going to say all of them, but the typical DC fan are talking about how they appreciate the darker tone or a grittier, more realistic tone that DC brings versus Marvel. Are they going to go along with this ride with Shazam, which I don't know what year this movie's coming out because they keep talking about it, but I don't know when it's actually going to come out. David, what do you think?
This gets me excited because you are talking about a kid. He's almost younger than Peter Parker is, in terms of who the kid is in his mind. And it's almost like Big, like when Tom Hanks, becomes a grown man. What's a kid gonna do? If you had the body of a 32-year-old just giant like Superman, all that powers, what would that do to you? You're gonna act like a little kid with all this power. So I think you have to keep it somewhat lighthearted. But as in all DC films or any film, even Wonder Woman, there's moments that are lighthearted, but they also can get dark too. She's running around there during World War I, people are dying, and she's bothered by that. But you can have some great comedic moments with Chris Pine. There has to be a balance, and I think. Again, talking about Marvel, I think Marvel's done the best job of doing that balance. I think sometimes maybe they're a little bit too silly at times. I felt that with Guardians of the Galaxy too. At times, like every line was a joke, and I don't need every line to be a joke. So I like DC's darker approach. I hope they don't go completely lighthearted. I hope it's that balance that I think Wonder Woman captured so well.
Rocha?
Yeah, this is interesting. I wrote about this on Tracking Board as my column that came out yesterday, and it was talking about DC and this whole changeover with the Johns era. Because when the Call It Sarah news dropped about him walking away from Suicide Squad 2, I thought, here's another thing. But as I did more research, you see that you got to be a little bit more patient here because the regime has changed over. We're hearing now that the Snyders, Deborah and Zach, are being kind of tactfully and eloquently moved to the side a little bit, and Johns is taking more of a central role, kind of like Kevin Feige, kind of like Kathleen Kennedy with Star Wars. So we have to be a little more patient here to see, give him a few more movies to see what the new change is going to look like. And I think what we're hearing, unfortunately, we're hearing that fun, lighthearted word, which I'm so tired of hearing that from directors from DC, because Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins did it. If you saw the footage at Hall H that James Wan did for Aquaman, we get that vibe that's going to have the same kind of feel to it, especially the way Momoa is portraying Aquaman in the Justice League trailers. We get this idea that they understand the balance now finally between the darkness and the light. And if you've got to have both to get people excited and enjoy your movies. And I think Shazam is a great way to go. And I love this guy, this director here. His horror stuff has been so powerful. And so to give him a chance with something like this, he could maybe shave down some of the cheesier aspects of Shazam, because I'm a massive Shazam fan, but he's never caught on like Superman or Batman.
Yeah.
And if you read Kingdom Come, he is considered as strong as Superman, Earth's mightiest mortal. So if you kind of shave down some of the cheesiness that's a kid calling for Greek gods and becoming Shazam, then you can have something a little more stronger with a more complexity, more depth. And again, Sandberg can do that, absolutely. So I look forward to seeing what he can do with the project.
Ken, what do you think about this?
I think it's a great course correction from DC. That's very clear. That's very obvious what they're doing. Yeah. I understand how they started this way. I mentioned in my news report here yesterday on Collider Video talking about this story. You know, when you win the wars earlier with Christopher Nolan's Batman, which I love because it was that dark and gritty, realistic take on a superhero. We all loved it, and it worked. So while Marvel's doing this, quips and funny stuff, I understood DC going, let's try to offer some counter programming. I think it worked on some levels, other levels it didn't. So the fact that Jeff Johns, like you mentioned, Rocha, is course correcting a little bit and they're making some adjustments, that's what you should do if you start losing a football game. Go to the locker room and figure it out. And yeah, Shazam, you say you're a Shazam fan?
Yeah, massive.
I've really never seen you wear a T-shirt of Shazam.
Because there aren't any, there are hardly any, and I wore one for a race 2 years ago, and everyone going, "Hey, great Flash shirt." I'm like, "It's not Flash. This is Shazam."
That's
Shazam.
great. But that's going to change.
Yeah.
2019, you're going to have a Shazam T-shirt.
God, I hope so.
Guarantee it. So you know what, Dennis? This is good stuff. This is what they should be doing.
Yeah, and if they ever do a version of Kingdom Come, that'd be great, and see him face off against Superman like he did in that story, where
Right.
he actually was kicking Superman's ass. I don't know. Do you guys think that DC fans that like this darker tone, are they willing to accept this? Because a lot of fans would say, you know, when it comes to Marvel stuff, if they're one of those fans that don't like Marvel and only like DC, they don't like the lighthearted jokiness. Are they going to accept this, or are they going to turn away and go like, this isn't my DC?
I think they'll accept. I think people accept just good stories. I mean, I'm sure most of the people that go see those DC movies that would call themselves hardcore DC fans, they're probably Star Wars fans too. And Star Wars has those moments that are quirky and goofy and funny and also serious. I mean, a good story is a good story. That's why those Pixar movies are always like at 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's why most of the critics love them, because they're just good stories. They're well told. They're not dark and gritty. They can be sad sometimes, but they're not dark and gritty. Again, if you have a good story, people will go see it. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I also think Wonder Woman is the template. If you can make that kind of money, follow that blueprint with your movies going forward, then you're going to be fine. And I think Ken made a great point, this idea that it's halftime in this battle between Marvel and DC. Yeah, Marvel looks like they're 3 touchdowns ahead, but it doesn't mean you can't still come back in that second half and win that game on a field goal. So it feels like DC is making these adjustments as they go along. And honestly, in my opinion, they have the stronger characters with the most depth and complexity of stories. So there's more to play with here. And if you do Shazam, you could even kind of redeem Henry Cavill's Superman by having him appear and be a little more lighthearted, a little more helping Shazam, because one of the greatest stories is the one where he teams up with Superman. That's not Kingdom Come, it's a different story. That would be fun to see that too. You can kind of redeem 2 characters in one.
All right, guys. Moving on to buy or sell. Sinead, what do we got first?
Variety is reporting that the release date for Pacific Rim Uprising has been delayed again, this time by only 1 month. The sequel saw a series of release dates that first started on April 7th, 2017, which was then moved to August 4th, 2017, and then again to February 23rd of 2018. Now the date has been set for March 23rd of 2018, only a month, with no reason given as to why. This puts Pacific Rim Uprising opening against Paramount's Action Point, Lionsgate's Robin Hood movie, and a trio of animated films that include Sherlock Gnomes, an Untitled Fox and DreamWorks animation movie, and Wes Anderson's stop-motion feature Isle of Dogs. Rocha, do you buy or sell the new release date for Pacific Rim Uprising?
I mean, I guess I buy it, but they keep moving it. So this worries me. This concerns me. I mean, and they did some smart stuff with having Boyega come out with interviews and talk about how the Jaegers are different now and the Kaijus are going to be, like, it's all going to be different, and the way the movement, he even said they're going to look like ballerinas, which I don't want to see at all in big fights. So, you know, make their large machines, make them hit things and do what they need to do. So this is smart PR by letting John Boyega come out and talk about this. But this does concern me that they keep moving it around, because I'm actually looking forward to this one from all the stuff we've seen, especially at Comic-Con. They released that, was it minute and 20-second kind of teaser thing about it. So, and they've cast this well, and they've put this 10 years ahead so they can play around and update the technology and make it seem seamless, connected to the first movie. Just the moving around bothers me, but they've put it in the right position. I think you don't want to go up to the second week of Black Panther. You know, you might get completely destroyed from everyone saying how much they're looking forward to Black Panther. So I think that's a smart move. They're going against some animated stuff. I'm sure Bibiani will be super upset. They're going against Sherlock Gnomes, which he can't stop tweeting about. So those kinds of things. But I think it's a right position for them for right now. But this worries me that they'll just keep moving it till they find the favorable week up until the last minute. So.
Ken, are you concerned about Pacific Rim 2 moving?
I would be concerned about the dates being moved prior to this moment. It's been moved a lot. Yeah, that normally speaks to some kind of bad thing going on, or they're not as confident in the movie. But this final one, the one we're actually talking about, I buy it. John, you touched upon it. It's just good business.
Yeah.
At this point, do you want to go up against Black Panther? Not only is it part of the Marvel machine, but it looks great, and the press coming out of Comic-Con about that movie is spectacular. Yeah. And if you're going to go into your little dollar voting booth on a movie weekend, you're going to cast it for Black Panther. There's Pacific Rim fans out there, but without a doubt, that'd be a loss. This is smart. Move it. And I'm sorry, Sherlock Gnomes. Sorry, Bibiani. No.
Yeah, I'm going to buy this move as well. From a February date to a March date, you don't want to go against the juggernaut that Black Panther probably will be. And also, you know, maybe it's more favorable. I actually wish this movie, even though I want to see it sooner, I think this type of movie is prime for an August release.
Yeah, it's summer movie. Absolutely.
You don't want to compete against the big heavy hitters in like May, June, July. But August, like, look at right now, you know, there's not a lot of big blockbuster movies coming out. And something like this coming around this time could, like, get a lot of people's attention and like, oh, you know what? I want to kind of watch a popcorn flick to end my summer season. And I think this would be great for it. I hope it does well in March, but I think August is prime for that. David?
Yeah, I buy it as well. I mean, like I said, it's a business move. They need to do this. I mean, Boyega, I'm just so happy for him that he's doing so well. Because it's weird, like with Daisy Ridley, I know she has Murder on the Orient Express coming out, like she's doing well for herself. But Boyega, I follow him on Instagram, and he's like constantly in plays, or, you know, he has Detroit coming out this weekend, which already has Oscar buzz. Now he has Pacific Rim 2, and then, of course, he has Star Wars coming in December. I mean, he's staying very busy. So it's good that, like, he's become the spokesperson. He's this very young star, but you can tell it likes the spotlight. He's good at it. He's very charismatic. So in all this, I'm really happy for John Boyega, and I'm really happy that Stephen DeKnight, coming from Spartacus, Dennis, that's one of our favorite series of all time, from then to Daredevil for season 1 and now this. So I'm happy for the whole team. I hope the movie does well.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Split still stands as one of the best surprises of 2017. The R-rated thriller grossed more than $276 million worldwide and revealed that all along it was a sequel to Unbreakable. Bolstered by its success, Shyamalan, Blumhouse, and Universal fast-tracked development on a sequel entitled Glass, which will bring together Bryce Willis, James McAvoy, Samuel L. Jackson, and Anya Taylor-Joy, along with franchise newcomer Sarah Paulson. Collider's own Steve Weintraub recently sat down with Jackson at the press day for The Hitman's Bodyguard, where Jackson revealed to Steve that filming begins this September 25th with a release now set for January 18th, 2019. Ken, based on it hitting production so soon, do you buy or sell Glass opening earlier than January of 2019?
I sell it opening sooner. I buy Bruce Willis's cousin Bryce Willis being in this movie, and Mark Riley's typos in that notes. Love that.
Oh, really? Is that who it is? Is it actually
you Ron
Bruce
Burgundy it, which I do too on teleprompters too sometimes. That's punch Riley later.
It's so good.
Bryce Willis, though, he's great. He was great in Die Hard 7, straight to video. I sell it coming out earlier than planned, though it wouldn't be a bad move if they did. Coming out of I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Coming up on the movie that led to this here, there's so much momentum, and M. Night having this
Resurgence?
Well,
Yeah.
M. Night's
Renaissance.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah,
Is that the word? Now I can't even talk or read. I think it's a good idea to build on that momentum. It had a lot of press. It got people talking about M. Night again, and he'd kind of been slowly working up to that point. Yeah. So if you want to bring it earlier, do it. That's just a lot of business decisions to move things ahead of production schedules.
David, what do you think about them shooting so quickly and the turnaround being that fast?
I don't know. I mean, it worries me a little bit just because I guess I might have to sell it just because I don't want them to rush, you know, because, I mean, Split kind of came out of nowhere, and I think we all really enjoyed that. And then when that reveal at the end, I'm just a little worried. I hope people know what they're getting into with this sequel, because when I left the theater that day, I didn't go to a special screen. I saw it with everybody else. And I heard a lot of discussions around me about, like, well, what was that? And some people were like, well, maybe that was one of his older films. Like, no one really knew what that scene was at the end. But the fact that they're bringing back Anya Taylor-Joy and James McAvoy, I'm sure when the trailer opens up, it'll be, like, from the director of Split, and they show that maybe people will link the stories together and figure out what's going on. But I hope it does well, and I hope they don't rush it, because I want this movie to be good, because I love Split. I thought it was very good.
So it's not going to say from the director of The Happening? Or...
No, none of that. Please, no. Or
Last Airbender.
Yeah. For me, this is a quick turnaround. It really depends on what type of movie they're making. Maybe it's not very special effects heavy. Maybe it's not a lot of visual effects, and maybe it's more dramatic. I mean, I actually watched Split for the first time last night.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Wow.
I've been very critical of M. Night Shyamalan over the years. I think Lady in the Water, The Happening, and what the hell's the Last Airbender.
Yeah.
All three together, those three are they're monumentally bad. This is fantastic. That movie was fantastic. Where has this M. Night Shyamalan been? Where has he been since 2000? Because that was the M. Night Shyamalan from whatchamacallit?
Sixth Sense?
Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
This is the movie that should have followed Unbreakable. Right. I mean, Signs wasn't bad, but I'm saying this is the movie that should have followed. And then I don't know what all that other stuff he's been doing, but somehow he's got his groove back lately. And so I'm not going to say he's back yet, because this is just one movie. I didn't watch The Visit, but if he churns out movies like that again, then I'll be an M. Night Shyamalan fan again. Yeah. I'll turn from the guy who talks the most crap about his movies to be a huge fan. I mean, he obviously has talent there. So I'm looking forward to the sequel.
Yeah.
David.
You already asked.
Rocha. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like, wait.
I got one thing. No, I buy it coming out earlier, possibly. And I think because Split was such a surprise, and they're already starting production in September, I would absolutely buy it coming out earlier than January 2019, because you want to take advantage of the fact that people like Dennis, people are still discovering the movie and excited about it. You don't want to wait 2 years. Anything can happen in 2 years. Something even that could even play around with this theme, this story could even come out and destroy it, and you'd lose the taste for it. I think you want to strike while the iron is hot. I think you go into production, you do this thing quick, you turn around quickly, and you create a fantastic film. Now, Dave, you make a great point. You don't want to rush it and mess it up, especially M. Night, who, Dennis, you just listed the litany of films where he messed up. So people are ready to strike him or to praise him at a moment's notice, depending on how this film does. But I think the fact that they're already going into production and they're going to be turning this thing around probably in less than a year, it's smart. And if you do it around Halloween, around November or whatever, or December, it gives it a little more strength and a little more power coming out. And I think people will be excited to see it. And also, it's kind of going to be a darker thing. It's called Glass, which he's the villain. So it's going to be a darker take on this thing. And I think you want to strike while the iron is hot and get this thing out as soon as possible, because people are excited to see the continuation of this. And M. Night works quick. He's done smaller films, works quick. So you might be right, not special effects driven.
Ken, did you check out Split?
No, that's why I couldn't even remember the title. Oh. But I like The Village. I actually like The Village.
I like The Village.
I like The Village.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
The LEGO Movie universe has been set to expand ever since the first movie broke box office records. After the debut of Lord and Miller's LEGO Movie, Warner Brothers announced a series of spin-offs that included this past February's LEGO Batman and this year's LEGO Ninjago movie. And in 2015, they announced another spin-off called The Billion Brick Race with Jason Segel and Drew Pearce writing and co-directing. We haven't heard much since until yesterday when THR announced that Segel and Pearce are no longer involved, and Jorge Gutierrez, the director behind The Book of Life, is now on board to develop and direct. Plot details are still under wraps with a release date yet to be determined. David, do you buy or sell the new LEGO spin-off directed by Jorge Gutierrez?
I mean, I'll definitely buy the Lego spin-off series. I mean, Lego Batman was fantastic.
Yeah.
Ninjago.
I got that one right.
That looks really good too. I mean, I don't really know much
Starring
about
Bryce
that.
Willis.
I'm not a Lego guy. Like, I haven't played Lego since I was little, so I don't really know much about the Lego world. But I know they have all these.
Yeah.
I know I dislike Legos. I mean, they got Lincoln Logs Legos. I mean, you build stuff. Whatever. But was that too far back?
No.
Lincoln Logs.
Lincoln
That's
Logs
too
are
far
not
back?
too far
back.
That was too far back.
No.
Sorry.
But
I
used to do the steel tire with the thing.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, right. I mean, come on. I mean, you like to build stuff. But I trust them because they're having so much fun with all these properties. I mean, I want to see a Harry Potter series. I mean, we had Voldemort, in Lego Batman, so I want a Harry Potter series. So anything that they're going to put out, I'm going to go see. I have no idea what this is. I assume it's like Cars meets Lego Movie, I guess, the Billion Brick Race. Nobody really has any details about this yet, but because it's a Lego movie, I'm going to go see it.
Yeah.
I buy it for sure.
Rocha, correction, not the steel tire. You're doing the stone one, right?
Yeah,
You're
the stone one, with the big stick rolling down the shit.
Rocha, what do you think about this?
Well, I think it's Jorge Gutierrez to start off with, but I mean, that's just me. I think this whole thing about, it's my language. Okay. It's my language. I'm Bryce Willis? No, I love this idea of Jorge coming on for this because I loved Book of Life. I actually really enjoyed it. Even the Ice Cube stuff didn't take me out of the movie, although it threatened to in certain moments. But the visuals of this thing were amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think Coco is going to get it 100% right. Pixar's Coco, which is dealing with the land of the dead, the Day of the Dead, all that. I think they're going to get it 100% right. But Book of Life is a vibrant, fantastic, fun film to watch. So if they're going to, he's the right guy to step in and do this because that's the same kind of vibe that the Lego movies have had. Mm-hmm. So it just makes a lot of sense to hire him to do this. And it'll be interesting to see what Lego characters he wants to bring into the movie. Because although things are going to be in the script and certain characters are going to be in the script, I'm sure, you bring in a new director who may have a proclivity for other characters. You mentioned Harry Potter, He Who Shall Not Be Named, all those things. So you can bring in different characters and maybe interesting, maybe a little more fleshed out. Maybe there'll be other characters you wouldn't have thought of. And so to me, I think this makes me super excited. I think Billion Brick Race is probably a play on like Rat Race or It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. If you remember that movie, everyone's going after this prize, And so that'll be great. And they're all in the cars. And they're all racing each other. That will be fantastic because all kinds of shenanigans can ensue when you do a movie like that.
Ken?
Yeah, Rocha, you're right. I just brought up It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yeah.
Same thing. Also, Rocha and I are so old that we used to drink water straight from the hose, which is why we're both sterile now. So,
Oh, no.
ladies,
true.
take note of that.
Yeah. That lead's no joke.
Yeah, this is a good fit. I had not seen Book of Life, so I watched the trailer this morning, and I thought, well, this seems like a Lego movie.
Yeah.
That type of vibe, that type of fun. Gutierrez comes from the CalArts world. He's got that pedigree up there, up north on the 5, just close to us. So I absolutely think this is a great idea. Lego's got a great brand. I've been collecting since '82. David, you can come over to my house and see my Lego museum.
That's
It'll
a
be
date
good.
night right there,
Yeah,
Ken.
absolutely.
All
But
right.
I'm sterile. I think it's a win, man. This sounds like a win. Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, I'm gonna be the only one. I'm gonna tentatively sell it, and it has nothing to do with the director. I thought A Book of Life was decent.
Yeah.
I'm just with the Lego thing. I thought I really liked Lego Batman. It did not do as well as I thought it
Yeah.
was going to
Right,
do
right,
financially,
True,
and
true.
I feel like. I love the first original Lego movie. I feel like there might be a diminishing returns on these films. Like maybe the novelty of it is wearing off, and I don't know with Ninjago coming out, with this movie coming out, that it may be too much, too fast.
Ninjago's a big test of this film
Yes.
franchise because it's a little bit of a more narrow focus for adults. I know a lot my friends with kids who aren't sterile, they have to buy a bunch of Ninjago stuff at the store each week. Like so it could be popular in a different kind of audience, but that's a good point.
Yeah.
Dennis.
Wendy and Sinead, are you guys looking forward to this at all? I mean, you guys saw the original Lego movie, right? And hopefully you guys saw Lego Batman. Are you guys looking forward to another thing? Are you looking forward to Ninjago?
Well, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I like the original Lego Movie, but I thought Lego Batman was a little bit of a mess. Like, it was super entertaining, don't get me wrong, and I laughed out loud multiple times, and I've seen it a handful of times. It's a movie I can watch at any point.
Wow.
But in comparison to the first one, like, story-wise, I was like not, I wasn't as thrilled with it by the time the movie ended. I was like, okay, like, yeah, that was super fun. I'll totally watch this again. But it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't that strong. It wasn't as strong as the first one. And I feel like they should, at this point, do things that it's going to resonate with a lot of people. So go for the big names. Usually I wouldn't say that, but like a Harry Potter Lego movie sounds freaking dope. Like, why don't you use the huge characters and do that? Because there's something really special about their movies when they bring in characters that people recognize. It almost makes you so excited. Even if they're in the background of something, it's hilarious. So I don't know. I will always watch Lego movies. I think they're great. But I hope that this isn't like, I hope that it's not going to keep going in the way that it has been, right? After the first two movies, which is still like early judgment.
Yeah. Wendy?
I feel like I should stand on this side because I'm closer to the mic. Hi. I mean, I'm with Sinead. Like, I actually really loved the Lego Batman movie. I liked the Lego movie a little bit better. I didn't think it was a hot mess. Like, I was laughing from beginning to end from like the credit with the voiceover. But with this one, the Million Brick Race or something
Billion
like that.
Brick Race, yeah.
It's an unknown property, so in that sense, they're going to be able to do whatever they want. They have the freedom to do that. They're not handcuffed to a property, to an IP, but it's in the same vein as you said, is that no one knows it. So how do you be interested in it? So right now, I'm going to sell it, even though I'm a fan of all the Lego movies. I'm excited for the Ninjago movie, but as of right now, I'm not into it.
Or it could work like totally in their favor, you know,
Yes.
because it could either go the complete opposite way. It could blow us away because we go into it with zero expectations. Because maybe that was my issue with the Batman movie, and I'll never know, you know, like, because I'm so familiar with the property. But maybe you're right. Maybe they can do whatever they want. They're not tied down to anything, and that'll end up being like the best thing that could have happened.
All right, cool. All right, what's the next?
People magazine exclusively released the newest trailer for Goodbye, Christopher Robin. The Fox Searchlight film highlights the relationship between the title character and his famous author father, A.A. Milne, and explores the creation of Winnie the Pooh and his friends. Directed by Simon Curtis, Goodbye, Christopher Robin stars Donald Gleason as author A.A. Milne, alongside Will Tilston as his son and Margot Robbie as Milne's wife, Daphne. The movie is set to hit theaters on October 13th. Dennis, you buy or sell the new trailer for Goodbye, Christopher Robin?
I'm gonna buy this one because on a previous mailbag we talked about a bunch of trailers that we actually didn't talk about too much on Movie Talk, and this was one of them. And I watched that original one, and not that it was bad, but I couldn't tell really what was going on. I didn't really get a feel for the characters, and this one I thought was a lot better. It gave more insight into Domhnall Gleeson's character and what he was going through with the post-traumatic stress. And so I feel like I'm more engrossed into learning about the creation of Winnie the Pooh and that the whole back history between him and his son, who, by the way, his son has Velma from Scooby-Doo's haircut in there. But I am interested in seeing. David, what about you? I know this is right up your alley, right?
This is
the English voices, accents.
This is opening night. I mean, this is
Get your shots ready.
This is red carpet. Hopefully, they'll have a Los Angeles red carpet premiere so I can go down there. I mean, this is just British greatness at its best. I mean, it's got the scenery, it's got the 100-acre wood or wherever they're living over there in the country. It's got Margot Robbie, it's got Dom, I can't pronounce your name, Gleason in it, which is great. Yeah, it just looks fantastic. I mean, the kid kind of confused me in the beginning. I wasn't sure what I was looking at, but little Christopher Robin. I mean, it's the birth of Winnie the Pooh. Who would want to say this is a great story? It's something you probably bring the family to. It's beautiful. I loved Winnie the Pooh. You know, Winnie the Pooh, you know, all that. I mean, this is good stuff. The honey, the bees. I mean, Tigger. This is all the stuff you want to see in a movie. I mean, what else? What else is there, Rocha? What else is there? You tell me.
Oh my God, why is it coming out? I thought you were going to say
yours.
your.
I apologize.
You buying or selling?
I'm absolutely selling this thing. It's a piece of crap. This is the thing for me. I know this story. His son and his dad they battled throughout their entire lives. He didn't see his mom for the last 15 years. She refused to see him for the last 15 years till she died, and like on her deathbed, would not see him. And so there's a lot of trauma and drama with the child, Christopher, because like the film presents it as like he's just suffering from post-stress, and he writes this book, and it really helps him. But in fact, it destroys his son's life for the rest of his life and their relationship. So, and they cast the guy. This I think is going to go further in years. So they cast the kid who played young Alan Turing in The Imitation Game. He's like 21 years old. So it feels like this is going to progress through their relationship. The trailer presented as like a feel-good trailer, but I have a feeling that it's going to be very darker, a lot darker than you think, and they don't want to promote that just yet because they want you to get you in theater thinking like David's thinking it's going to be fun, it's going to be fun for the family, and then you show up and it's like, oh, they hate each other, awesome, he ruined this kid's life, great, because the kid ends up marrying his first cousin in real life, and like refused, like this. There's a whole story.
Oh no!
With the actual Christopher Robin, like look this up, read up on him. This Winnie the Pooh stuff, we all enjoyed it. We love it. You know, you have the Tower of Piglet, all that stuff that you enjoyed reading, or the Tower of Pooh rather, and whatever the Piglet sequel was. But there's a horrible truth underneath all this stuff that affected this kid, and he went into the army himself in World War II, and he got turned down, and his father got him into the army, and then he was suffering his own post-traumatic stress, and he even opened a bookstore with his wife, and hated and didn't take any of the residuals of the Pooh money, like none of it. And so there's a very, I think that's the movie I want to see, not this feel good.
So yeah, instead of a behind the music, it's like behind Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, right.
The
I'd rather
story
see
that you just told.
I don't want to see Finding Neverland 2. I don't want to see it. Yeah.
Ken?
Wow.
What just happened?
Just went really dark.
Rocha's Winnie the Pooh historian, and David's over here. So sad.
His life has been shattered.
Ruined it.
David's life has been shattered.
I'll tell you what, though. I'm selling this trailer for a lot of the reasons, and what you're describing, John. If it's in the movie, and it sounds like it might be in some level. If they put that out now, I'd be like, oh, this is different because he's Finding Neverland, Saving Mr. Banks, The Truth Behind Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes. Just keep going with all this stuff. It didn't move me, David. If it moved you and it moves you out there in the audience, go there opening night with David. He's single. He's waiting. All right. But I nothing about this trailer. Congratulations to everyone involved who made it. Moved me, John.
Yeah.
And what you're describing, and I know not necessarily all that's going to be in the movie, and that seems real dark and that seems real layered. This kid who had the haircut I had for most of my childhood, by the way, when I was drinking.
I had the haircut when I was a child.
Yeah, we all were afflicted with that.
I did not have that haircut when I was a child.
Well,
I had a flat top. I had the Will Smith flat top.
Yeah,
I would
had a
love if
flat
you
top,
had this.
we had the Adam Rich 8 is Enough bowl cut.
Yes, we did.
From the that era. So anyways, I'm selling it. Not that I think the movie will be bad, but I'm selling this trailer because it didn't do a good job standing out from some of the other movies I've seen like this.
All right, guys, that's it for Buy or Sell. I'm moving on to Mailbag. Before we get to that, I want to remind you we're going to take your live tour questions at the end of the show. You can tweet us at Collider Video, and Wendy will pick out a few of those. Also, I want to remind you that we have Heroes and TV Talk daily now.
Yeah.
So every day, you can go check out our channel, and we'll have an episode of either TV Talk and Heroes, along with our daily movie talk. We also had a Jedi Council that dropped yesterday. We have a new comic book shopping with Sarah Chalk and Chris Parnell, who are part of one of my favorite shows, Rick and Morty. Check that out. John Schnepp's hosting that, talking about comic books and introducing. Sometimes he has people who know a lot about comic books on there. Sometimes he has comic book fans or people who are new to comics like them. Next week, Frank Miller. Frank Miller. If you guys know anything about comic books, Frank Miller is a legend. He's going to be on next week's comic book shopping, so stay tuned to that. Game of Thrones show, Monday morning. Me and Ken are there. Ken hosts that show.
And our good friend Rocha, Rachel Cushing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's always fun to do.
You're there too, John.
Thanks.
And also, we have a Schmodown that comes out today with Bibiani versus Scott Mantz. Now let's move on to Mailbag. Sinead, what do we got?
Jordan writes, hello, Collider crew. The Rock is one of my favorite actors with some quality films to his name. However, his recent run of films have missed the mark. Baywatch, Central Intelligence, and Hercules spring to mind. Admittedly, there are some quality films thrown in there. My question is, should The Rock be more selective over his film choice and start to steer clear of comedies?
Rocha?
Yeah, this is a ridiculous question, and I respect Jordan for watching and sending the question in. But dude, you can't say he's kind of missed the mark. And then admittedly, he had some really good comedies in there. What are you talking about? Look, Central Intelligence made $216 million on a $30 million budget. That's success. That's on a $50 million budget, rather. That's success. That was a hilarious film, and people loved it. Moana, people loved. That's a comedy. He was great in that as a voiceover guy. So he's done a lot of work. Furious 8 was great. Furious 7 was good. He's got, Baywatch is a misstep. You're going to have occasional missteps. And yeah, you can mention Hercules, but that was like 3 or 4 years ago. Like he sprinkles in these great franchise movies, but then does these other films that really push the boundaries. San Andreas made a crap ton of money, and you don't really make a lot of money in disaster movies anymore. And he did it. So much so they're doing a sequel. So I get that you're worried that Baywatch signals that we might be under rock fatigue. That's a valid complaint, but I think he's the kind of guy that he's like the Ryan Seacrest of act. Like he's just always working. Ballers is essentially a comedy. He works and Ballers too. So there's a lot going on for Dwayne Johnson. He's doing just fine. And I respect that he may not make always the great choices, but don't forget he's not from an acting pedigree. He's from a wrestling pedigree. So he's got to satisfy a lot of audiences at the same time.
Kent?
Yeah, and John, you and I have talked about this off camera, and I know you had a chance to discuss it with The Rock. That wrestling pedigree means you grew up in an era where you're on the road 330 to 350 days a year sometimes back in that era. Yep. And he just wants to work. And I think you're going to start to see it with Dave Bautista, and you might one day see it with John Cena, where they just go because that's normal. There's no days off in professional wrestling for the WWE. So The Rock, I worry as a fan of his that there could be some overexposure to the normal movie audience. You're a Rock fan. I'm a Rock fan. David, are you a Rock fan?
I like The Rock.
Okay, we'll work on you, David. But I do agree, Jordan, that maybe he makes some different choices. But I again, going back to the wrestling thing, you're pitched an angle. You work the angle, it doesn't work. We work on the next one. And I think he just enjoys working. It is part of his blood. And I think maybe more selective as he gets more bigger projects. I could see that, but Rock is the Rock, man. Salute him.
Yeah, I think it's only Baywatch was the misstep.
It's really the only really misstep.
Central Intelligence made a lot of money, like you mentioned, and Hercules not even a comedy. You know, I mean, there was some comedic elements in it, but it was a while ago, and it wasn't. So I don't think he has anything. I actually think The Rock is very funny. I think that's part of his charm. I think that's why. There's 2 periods when I don't really watch wrestling now, but there's 2 periods. To me, it's the Hulk Hogan era, and then there's the Rock era. Those are the 2 people that brought me into watching wrestling, and now I think he's funny, so I think he should stay with comedy. I'm not saying every movie he should do is comedy, but do some action, do some comedy, do some action comedies. That seems like what Jumanji is really, is action comedy. David is the lone Rock hater on the panel.
Easy now. I like The Rock. He's good. No, The Rock is good.
Rock's gonna bust through that door over there.
I won't mess with that guy.
Ass.
He's massive. But I'm a little more interested in, speaking of wrestlers, is how Bautista's career is going to develop, because he seems like the quieter guy. I know in Guardians of the Galaxy he's yelling and screaming, but he's got this really quiet scene with Ryan Gosling. You see it in the trailer with Blade Runner. It's a very quiet scene, very dark scene. He's doing that. He's in with James Bond is kind of a strong, silent type guy. I'm really curious about his career. I mean, Rock is just so much charisma, just all over the place, big, bold, bigger than life. But I'm really curious about Bautista. But The Rock can do what he wants. He can do whatever he wants.
And Dave's is a more sensitive guy. Ken and I know this. Ken and I know this. Yeah, he actually gets. He had trouble during his runs in the WWE when the fans would turn on him without like it being part of the storyline.
I think he said when he got the role for Guardians of the Galaxy, I think he said he cried because he was just so shocked. He didn't think he deserved the role. Yeah. He was shocked that he got the role.
He was a different kind of wrestler, different kind of performer than The Rock or Cena. He was Leviathan, which was his original gimmick in the Indies. Right. And so it's an interesting, because he's starting to produce and develop stuff now, and I think he surprised me in Guardians, because that is hard to deliver comedy straight ahead, quiet in that way. And I'm interested too. Can he change, and maybe Blade Runner's part of that?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Now we're moving on to live Twitter questions. You can tweet us at Collider Video. Wendy, what do we got?
The first one comes from Adrian Ventura, who writes, with barely any Western movies coming out compared to how much they used to come out back then, what genre do you guys think we'll hardly be seeing in the next 10 years or so?
That's tough. When people talk about comic book movies and comic book movie fatigue, I always try to remind them that other genres were like the westerns used to be the comic book
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
They used to every movie was a western, and I'm not saying comic book movies will go away. I love comic book movies, but I'm saying you will probably see them get less. How many did we have this year? 6, 7, or something like that. You may start getting pared down to maybe 3 a year, 2 a year, or something like that. I think that it's just inevitable. I don't know. I know a lot of people like to hate on me for that, but everything goes in cycles.
Yeah. I think romantic comedies are the genre that's really falling apart and gonna we don't. Can you name the last great romantic? And La La Land does not count. That's not a romantic comedy. It's a tragic ending. So do you like a romantic comedy? When's the last time you really enjoyed one? It's been a while. And they release them, but they don't have the same quality as the heyday of Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, even Serendipity with Kate Beckinsale and John Cusack. During the '90s and early 2000s, that was a machine. That was a factory. So I think that's going to keep dying out to where it's rare you see a really good one, and they'll just be okay, but they won't be great, like When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, and you talk When Harry Met Sally, one of my favorite movies,
Yeah.
and you just mentioned it, John. Very insightful comment there about the romantic comedies became a factory.
Yeah.
It was Katherine Heigl on the poster, go like that, and it
or Hudson.
Exactly, just became a factory. And that's what comic book movies, I feel. Don't at me, bro. That's what they're doing. That's just you could plug and play, which is why Wonder Woman with a change in tone and a female lead and all that stuff, and Logan with a little bit of a change in tone, and Deadpool even helped.
Or like a Captain America is almost like a Bourne film in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that, so I think the comic movies genre has a ways to go because they're adapting. But I understand what you're saying, Dennis, and it's hard it's hard to imagine that comic book movies won't be king and queen for a long time, but it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah, there's a cycle, but I think what Ken was saying is perfect because you can do so many different genres within the comic book world, whereas a Western is just a Western. But Logan can be a Western. Guardians of the Galaxy can be a sci-fi film. Captain America can be a Jason Bourne action film. I mean, you can do so many different genres, so I think it's going to be a longer time. We're going to have comic movies for a long time.
Well, I think the danger too, Dennis, is the casting. If you don't get the casting right, comic book movies can fall right off the cliff. And we are very fortunate that we cast at the right time. This all hit at the right time. But when we start replacing these Marvel heroes, are we going to get the right people in charge? We'll see.
All right, what's next?
All right, this next one comes from Jai Chung, who writes, with M. Night Shyamalan going back to the Unbreakable world, is there another movie universe that you wish the studios would revisit?
It's interesting. I mean, I was lucky
Silence, hush falls over the
Well,
table.
I this sounds silly to say maybe because it's coming, but the Dark Universe we talked about yesterday about that kind of falling apart, not having a good debut. I'd like to see that done well. Like do another. I'd like Dracula Untold. I thought Luke Evans had a strong performance in there. I wish they would have kept him in that dark universe. I think they were going to originally. I would like to see them do another stab at the monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula. I know they had the Daniel Radcliffe movie a little while ago, but I mean, just like take a really good stab at that. The Dark Universe didn't get off to a good start. We'll see how long it sticks around. But if that fails, I'd like to see them do it again. Try it because I love those stories, those old gothic horror stories.
Yeah. I'd love to see the Austin Powers one come back. I was watching a double of Spy Who Shagged Me and Goldmember the other night. I love those movies. Hey, Goldmember, you can go back and forth on it, but I enjoy a lot of scenes, especially
You look like a tweet buddy.
Tweet.
Tweet.
Shafasha for Shafasha. There's great humor, and Mike Myers is now putting on some mask and doing the Gong Show, which breaks my effing heart so much because those movies are great. And so if you could bring those back, especially now with our political climate, like we need humor. We need humor that makes fun of what's happening very seriously in our world, and not in our country, but also in our world. And so I think he'd be great at doing that. I wish they would bring that back. And if they have to possibly recast, but at least have him be like the Michael Caine role that he played, like the dad of Austin Powers. You can reboot it in a way that makes sense, and there's a lot of funny British actors that you can play with.
Kent?
As far as returning to a universe, I can't quite think of something. That's a great pull with Austin Powers, and I love Mike Myers. So I Married an Axe Murder, one of my favorite comedies.
Yes.
But with the failure of the King Arthur, and I say failure because I still haven't seen it. I'm a King Arthur fan. I want to see like a return and establishment of like a King Arthur universe.
Oh yeah.
You got a lot of side stories. You got the Merlin origin. You got Lancelot. You got build them all up and then you put them into a super movie. That's what David,
Yeah,
you're excited.
I'm down. I'm
We
watching
got
that.
Go Picture.
Yeah.
I think one thing,
Percival, do it.
one universe that I wanted to be good that they did try and revisit was the Clash of the Titans
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
It turned out not very good, especially with the sequel. But I'm very interested in seeing that kind of universe be explored. I know with comic books, it's not a revisiting, but they are planning on bringing some of the characters in the universe of the Valiant universe to the big screen. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can differentiate themselves from Marvel and DC.
You know, it'd be cool is do something like those old biblical movies, like Ten Commandments and like David and Goliath. Like, dude, and there's some great, religious beliefs aside, there's just some cool, good stories in there. They're like great action, big war scenes. I mean,
A Jesus shared universe?
Yeah, Jesus shared universe. You get and then they all meet up, and then they cross over and they like beat
killed
evil.
now. We're gonna get
they-
smited.
they-
Everybody calm down.
Sorry.
That's a good thing.
Did they form like Voltron? Did they like a bunch of characters that form like Voltron?
We're gonna get smited. This
Okay.
November, Mother Mary.
All right, what's next?
All right, this one comes from R. Drago66, who writes, with the Dark Tower getting blasted by critics, how likely is Dunkirk to remain #1 at the box office?
Very likely. I saw Dark Tower, and me and Christian did a review up on our channel. You can check out, and we didn't hate it.
Okay.
We just thought it was a lot of potential that was they didn't capitalize on. There was like a whole universe there, a whole lore and mythology that they just kind of brushed past, and the movie's very short, and they ran through it. So I don't think the buzz about it is very good, and I don't think a lot of casual fans are going to go see it. So yeah, I think Dunkirk will probably be #1 again.
Yeah, I'm going after this show. I'm gonna go see Dark Tower
Okay.
over across the street and see if it's any good, decent. But I think Dunkirk will stay.
I see Detroit.
Yeah, I saw it already. Good.
The reviews are not making me want to go see this.
Really?
They're saying it's dark, it's tough, it's gritty, but they don't get into the complexities of why this happened and the relationship. And so some of the reviews to me worry me. I'll still go, but it's a 2.5-hour movie. So it's like, that's not something I'm going to see on a Friday afternoon. I'm going to see that like at night with a couple of friends. But like, it concerns me they don't get deeper into the issues of what's going on.
I think most likely Dunkirk will remain. Dark Tower will affect it. There'll be a lot of people going. I'm curious to see what Girls Trip does because the word of mouth of that movie continues to build and grow, and it's one of those things that, like, as Emoji Movie slips down the hill like a pile of poop emoji slowly. Maybe Girls Trip hangs around top 5, moves up a bit because, again, the word of mouth is growing, and that's the type of thing where, like, if you didn't consider seeing it the first time, you might be like, do I want to see the Dark Tower thing? But everyone seems to enjoy this Girls Trip thing. I think I'll go see that. That might continue to grow and build.
Yeah, I actually watched Girls Trip last night. I had a weird double feature. I watched Girls Trip and then I watched Split.
Wow.
But Girls Trip was funny. It was funny, and I see why there's a lot of buzz. Because initially with the trailers and commercials, even the marketing, it didn't look that great.
It was like with a rough night. It seems like one of those type
Yeah,
of things. But then
yeah.
that's what happens. The word of mouth does stuff.
But it
to change.
actually is pretty funny. David, Dunkirk #1?
Yeah, I think Dunkirk #1.
All right, let's do one more.
Okay, this last one comes from Brandon Bush, who writes, which Marvel character do you feel should not have their own standalone films?
That currently has one? Okay. Or one that exists that they're thinking about.
Ooh, good
Do
question.
either or.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye?
As much as I love that graphic novel that came out, that was a compilation of stuff a few years ago.
Yeah, it was
fantastic.
Matt Fraction.
Oh,
and
that
David
was
Aja, yeah.
spectacular.
That's a great one. If you could,
Because he's a
ever
neighborhood
adapt-
guy. He had a little neighborhood. He was helping his neighborhood out.
It was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Pizza Dog, man. Pizza
That
Dog.
would be a
Pizza
good.
Dog,
That would be a
that's
good
right.
TV series.
Yes,
Hawkeye
yeah,
would make a great
agreed.
TV series,
but
yeah.
not a standalone movie. I think no one will go see that, unfortunately. And I love Jeremy Renner. I just watched The Town again the other night, but like it just isn't. He doesn't have that appeal.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Marvel? I mean, we got Iron Man, Thor, Captain America,
yeah,
Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Ant-Man.
The
Those
thing
are
is,
the,
I mean,
those
if you
are
have
the
a
ones that-
compelling story, all those characters are interesting. I mean, you can tell an
could-
interesting
you
story.
can make them work, but
Yeah.
how about we stop doing Iron Mans because we've had one great one and two bleh. So send Tony Stark out to the wilderness.
Yeah.
Trying to-
No, that's about all I got right there.
Yeah, you wearing a Marvel shirt?
I know, but I like all these movies. I don't want to see
this.
them.
Would you want a Hulk?
Yeah, I want a Hulk
Do you want a Hulk
standalone.
standalone? Even
I
though they've
realized
messed it up
that
twice.
I realized the new
Is it a
Thor is gonna
silent
be,
film?
Well, we're gonna get Thor. We're gonna get Thor Ragnarok and Planet Hulk are kind of like combining. But I would love to see if Planet Hulk was just by itself. I mean, we're gonna get in Thor, but
Watch
still.
my film. Watch film.
It's good.
It's good film.
All right, guys, that's it for today's episode of Collider Movie Talk. Thanks for joining us. I want to thank the people joining us at the table today. Ken, where can people find you?
You can find me at Ken Napzok across most social media platforms. I'm still Snapchatting. I don't know why. Don't follow me though.
Rocha?
Yes. I keep it short and sweet. Apparently, I got crap for it. Follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and Instagram. We just dropped a new episode of The Cinephiles this morning on iTunes and Stitcher. We talk about Woody Allen's crimes and misdemeanors. A lot of fun. Outlaw Nation dropped yesterday on SK Plus, and I just wrote a new article on DCU, which I mentioned, tracking-board.com. Please read it.
David?
I'm going to be on live TV talk a few days a week, so check me out there at Griffin DE on Twitter and Instagram.
Wendy?
Oh, it's me. YouTube I can't even do my own plugs. At Wendy Lee Zaney, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat.
And Sinead?
I'll be live on TV Talk in like 12 minutes.
Woo!
So definitely watch that. And then I'll be back next week for Movie Talk.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or on Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Check out Mailbag. I'll be on those this weekend with Riley. And then also make sure you check out Comic Book Shopping, Game of Thrones, and all that good stuff. We have plenty of stuff on the channel. See you guys next time.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.